Yeah, we are going to have to update the rankings after this game. I have no idea what happened with Rico Dowdle. Hopefully y'all can help me figure it out. I'm not going to be in the best mood. I don't want to tell you exactly what happened. You can see in the Flock League video tomorrow. But anyway, all right. Starting with the Panthers offense, y'all know I'm a Bryce Young hater, so prepare to be annoyed. Bryce Young, before this game, was not startable in fantasy football. Bryce Young, after this game, is not startable in fantasy football. The only thing that Bryce Young is relevant for is, can he somehow, some way be just good enough where we can start Tetero and McMillan? That's the only thing that matters. Now, what does really change with this Panthers offense is Rico Dowdle. So we had seen Rico Dowdle be the starting running back for the Carolina Panthers in 5 games this season. Let's go ahead and let's look at this. And in those 5 games that Rico Dowdle had been the starting running back for the Carolina Panthers, he had 23, 30, 25, 18, and 19 carries. You combine that with his targets at 4, 5, 2, 3, 7. He had at least 20 opportunities in every single game. He had at the very minimum 15 fantasy points in every single game. And for whatever reason, this coaching staff thinks that we need to see Chuba Hubbard out there. Why do you think we need to see Chuba? How does Rico Dowdle not deserve just every single touch in this backfield at this point? What else does he have to do? He has been incredibly efficient all season, averaging 5 yards per attempt, averaging 6.6 yards per target. Like, obviously, this is a team that had abandoned the run, but I don't even understand why Chuba Hubbard was on the field as much as he was. Like, Chuba Hubbard here sees 7 total opportunities. Hubbard had 4 receptions. He had 3 carries. Super frustrating. And honestly, if Hubbard's going to be out there on the field, I have to lower Rico Dowdle down my rankings. Like, before this game with Josh Jacobs banged up, I honestly maybe would have traded Josh Jacobs for Rico Dowdle. I have Jacobs on my own team. After this game, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. After this game, I'd rather have Javonte, who continues to see every single touch in his backfield and a better offense, over Rico Dowdle. I think Dowdle is a C-tier running back at this point. Super, super frustrating. I'm going over to the receivers. The only name that you could possibly look at is Tetero and McMillan. Now, obviously, I know some people are excited about Jalen Coker coming into the season. My take with Jalen Coker is, and has always been, and I'll say the same thing with Xavier Legette, at the very best, he's the wide receiver 2 for Bryce Young. Why would you ever want a player that at their best, they're the wide receiver 2 for Bryce Young? That's not worth a roster spot. So the only player worth rostering is going to be Tetero McMillan. Here in this game, he gets the receiving touchdown. He leads this team with 7 targets. He has, nothing's changes with the only thing that changes here with Carolina is I'm a little bit lower on Dowdle because of this Chuba Hubbard usage. Tetero McMillan is the same guy that he was. He's going to see a ton of targets and a crap offense, and he's a really good wide receiver. Now, maybe that we get confirmation that Bryce Young isn't good. We go ahead and we put Waddle ahead of Tetero McMillan, but did we really need that confirmation that Bryce Young wasn't good? We should have already known that Bryce Young's not good. We've been saying it. Everybody's been saying it for years. Now let's move over to the Niners. Here, this is maybe somewhat interesting. So I had the pleasure of going up against Brock Purdy in fantasy today. If McCaffrey didn't do what he did, I would have been excited about it. But Brock Purdy, 3 interceptions at the beginning of the game. Like, obviously, if they went up against a real football team and not the Carolina Panthers, maybe Brock Purdy and the Niners would have paid for this Purdy performance. But where did we have Purdy in our rankings before this, and do we need to move him down? I had Purdy at QB 16 in our rest of season ranks. I'd probably rather have Jaden Daniels over Purdy now that we're getting a report today that Daniels is going to be practicing this week. Honestly, for that reason, I'm going to move Jaden Daniels up these rankings a decent amount. But I still think Brock Purdy here is like QB 17 in my rankings. He is only ever interesting as a start if he has a great matchup. Especially as the Niners get healthier, right? I mean, McCaffrey comes through. It's the revenge game for CMC. He has 31 total opportunities. Looks absolutely incredible. He gives you such a floor when it comes to his receiving skill set, where if he did literally 0 as a rusher this week, he would have still scored 12 fantasy points. Now, I had McCaffrey as my running back 2 in my rest of season rankings. I had him in the S tier alongside Jonathan Taylor and Jahmyr Gibbs. Do I need to move McCaffrey up or down? Well, technically, he is now the running back 1 in fantasy points per game, where according to flockfantasy.com, which heads up, you can always check out my rankings and a bunch of other YouTubers' rankings on flockfantasy.com. You can see all these stats on flockfantasy.com as well. If you want, links in the description comment section. But anyway, according to us, he is currently the running back 1 in points per game. I would still rather have JT over him. JT has a little bit of a difficult schedule, but keep in mind with McCaffrey and this Niners team, you still have to deal with the week 14 bye. So if you're fighting for that last playoff spot, or if you're fighting to get a bye week for the fantasy playoffs, there's a big difference between getting that extra game out of Jonathan Taylor versus a CMC, where keep in mind, we're in week 13 now. So if you have a bye week still to go, that means you're playing 50% of the games of Jonathan Taylor through the rest of the regular season for fantasy. Now, if you're a playoff team, that may not be that relevant, but obviously a lot of y'all are fighting for the playoffs. So I don't think you could put McCaffrey in at 1. Okay. Now, going over to what we have with Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson, just a handcuff to CMC. You'd never start him outside of a McCaffrey injury, but if CMC were to go down, Brian Robinson turns into a must-start player, but obviously nothing changes in that front. Now, moving over to the pass catchers. Ricky Pearsall does absolutely nothing, and this is back-to-back games now. Now, I can already see the chat spazzing, saying like, oh, Ricky Pearsall's an absolute bum. Ricky Pearsall has done nothing, will never do anything, blah, 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 blah. Let me see who has Ricky Pearsall in the Flock League, and we can see what Pearsall did at the beginning of the season. Because at the beginning of the year, I feel like this guy did something, right? At the beginning of the year, he played 3 games before going down with the injury in week 4. And those 3 games, he did lead the Niners in targets, and he had over 100 receiving yards in 2 of the 3 games. So, if I'm ranking Ricky Pearsall, I don't want to only look at what he has done since coming back from his injury in weeks 11 and weeks 12. I do want to give him somewhat the benefit of the doubt, knowing that he was coming back from a significant injury. Now, of course, I'm moving him down after this performance. Don't get me wrong. Let's go ahead and let's see. Where was he beforehand? He was wide receiver 33. I would trade him for Alec Pierce. Obviously, you have to have Juwan Jennings ahead of him now. Terry McLaurin looks like he's going to be back at practice. If y'all watched our rest of season wide receiver rankings video, we got to the F tier of wide receivers and said, I literally have no idea how to rank these players. You do it on your own. And I kind of feel like that's where we need to be at still, where it's like, there's no way in hell I'm really ever wanting to tell you to go out there and start Jordan Addison, Keenan Allen at this point. I'm actually kind of okay telling you to start Juwan Jennings through Alec Pierce. So I think we're going to move them up a tier. But it looks like Juwan Jennings is the wide receiver 1 in this offense. It's not just this week, him coming through, getting the receiving touchdown, 7 targets, but also you combine this with what he did last week as well. And then obviously the true top pass catcher outside of maybe McCaffrey here is going to be George Kittle. Do I need to move George Kittle in our ranks? No, I had him tied in 2 coming into this week. He is tight end 2 after this game. Is he in the same tier as Trey McBride? Held to the no. So we are going to have George Kittle here at 2, and we're going to leave him there. Averaging 13.7 points per game. That's right ahead of Tyler Warren, right behind Brock Bowers. But obviously, Bowers' 14.5 points per game is fueled off that one massive, massive performance. Now, I think that's all I have for this live stream. I want to remind you all again, you can always check out updated rankings on flockfantasy.com. And if you, for whatever reason, have not linked your league yet, make sure you go ahead, link your league, ladies and gentlemen. You can go ahead and sort your power rankings based off individual creators. What this will do as well is it's going to show you some of the best options that are available on your waiver wire. So like here, you can see on my waiver wire, some of the best names are like Caleb Williams, Raheem Mostert, Blake Corum, and my league. This is my fantasy football team. And for the love of God, Saquon Barkley, start doing something. But yeah, you can sort your league by points for, points against, winning streak, loss streak, whatever you want to do, record, power ranking. Yeah, y'all know what flockfantasy.com is. Y'all know we're working on this every single day for y'all. And yeah, click on any player you want, pulls up a bunch of stats for them. Hold 9 yards. Y'all know the deal. But I'll leave that link in the description comment section just in case any of y'all haven't linked your league already. Again, I want to reiterate, it is completely free, but yes, CMC owners don't care about that buy because CMC owners are smarter than other owners. It is so nice to know that the chat here does not realize that a player scores 0 points on their bye week in fantasy, even if that player is Christian McCaffrey. Chat, not going to lie, y'all are one-upping yourselves. Yes, you should rather have 1 game of Christian McCaffrey in comparison to 2 games of Jonathan Taylor, even though the gap between these players is 0.5 point per game so far this season. Continue to go after it, chat. I'll end the live stream now, and you can let them hear it in the comment section. But much love, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you, and hope I get to see you out in the live stream tomorrow.